When my father died, everyone expected a brutal legal war. My stepmother demanded every dollar, every property, and the entire family business. Even my own lawyer begged me not to surrender. Instead, I looked everyone in the eye, signed every document, and quietly handed her everything. People whispered that grief had broken me. What nobody knew was that my father had spent years preparing for exactly this moment. The real inheritance was never the estate, and when her lawyer finally discovered the truth, the smile disappeared from every face in that courtroom. The day my father passed away, I lost more than a parent. I lost my mentor, my business partner, and the only person who truly understood how our family worked behind closed doors. At the funeral, relatives hugged me while quietly asking who would inherit the company. My stepmother barely looked upset. Instead, she spent most of the service speaking with attorneys and financial advisors. Even before the flowers had begun to fade, she made one thing painfully clear. She intended to take everything my father had built, and she expected me to fight her for it. My father had spent nearly 40 years building a successful manufacturing business from a tiny rented warehouse. Every weekend as a child, I followed him through the factory floor, learning every machine, every customer, and every employee by name. After he remarried, things slowly changed. My stepmother disliked the long hours and constantly pressured my father to sell the company for a quick fortune. He always refused because he believed the business represented generations of hard work rather than just money. Although I rarely argued with her, I could sense growing tension every year. Within days of the funeral, her attorney delivered a demand claiming she deserved the estate, every investment account, every property, and complete ownership of the company. My lawyer immediately recommended challenging every claim in court. Friends insisted I would regret surrendering my father's legacy. Even employees begged me not to let outsiders control the business they had helped build for decades. Everyone expected an ugly courtroom battle that could drag on for years. Instead, I shocked them all by saying only one sentence: "Let her have everything." The decision spread through the family like wildfire. Cousins called me weak. Former business partners assumed I had secretly accepted a large settlement. Social media filled with rumors claiming grief had destroyed my judgment. My own lawyer questioned whether I fully understood the consequences of signing away millions of dollars. The only person who remained strangely calm was the elderly family accountant who had worked beside my father for more than 30 years. Every time someone criticized me, he simply smiled without saying a word. 2 weeks before the final hearing, the accountant handed me a sealed envelope that my father had instructed him to deliver only after legal proceedings began. Inside was a handwritten letter explaining everything. My father knew there was a chance greed could divide the family after his death. Years earlier, he had quietly transferred the company's operating assets into an employee trust that would activate only if ownership changed through legal dispute or voluntary transfer. The expensive buildings, luxury cars, and public image remained with the estate, but the profitable engine of the business belonged somewhere else entirely. At the final hearing, I calmly signed every document without asking a single question. My stepmother smiled confidently, while reporters outside the courthouse prepared stories about the son who surrendered his inheritance. Then her attorney requested one final review before filing the paperwork. As he examined the corporate documents, his expression changed instantly. He reread the same page several times before whispering urgently to his client. The courtroom grew silent as both attorneys requested a private conference. Within minutes, everyone realized the company she believed she had won no longer generated the fortune she expected. The employee trust automatically became active the moment ownership transferred. Every loyal worker my father had protected for decades retained their jobs, voting rights, and future profits. My stepmother legally received the mansion, expensive cars, and maintenance costs that came with them, but the business itself continued operating independently exactly as my father had planned. She had won the appearance of wealth while losing the source that created it. Her lawyer admitted there was nothing illegal or reversible about the arrangement because every document had been properly executed years before. As I walked out of the courthouse, several employees were waiting outside. None of them cheered or celebrated. Instead, they quietly thanked my father for protecting the people who had spent their lives helping him build his dream. In that moment, I finally understood the lesson he had spent my entire childhood teaching me. Wealth is temporary, but character outlives every bank account. My stepmother spent years chasing ownership. My father spent decades building something that greed could never steal. That day, I realized the greatest inheritance was never money. It was wisdom.